Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Don't fall for those love crystals. I'm your Captain Myrriah Gossett.
That was a lot of effort there.
I forgot to think of something.
I am Paul Fentor Sitachi. And I am another person on this podcast.
Yes. Welcome. Clyde is on an away mission. I'm sure we'll hear all about his adventures when he gets back, but he sends his regards to everyone hanging out with us tonight and those listening. We are discussing and continuing our series on the animated series tonight with episodes 9 and 10, Once Upon a Planet, as well as Mud's Passion. But before we dive into those episodes, just a couple of reminders. If you're hanging out with us live tonight and you want us to answer a question or comment on something in the chat, you can use capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat, and we will take a look at that. You can also find links to the show, how to support us, how to get merch, all that kind of stuff in the show notes via Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and more. And Paul, where can people find if they want to hang out with us over in the Slack? Where should people go?
They should go to StarTrekPod.co and please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. All links are at that StarTrekPod.co. And please consider joining our Patreon to get access to our Slack community.
Indeed. There's watch-alongs happening all the time. People are watching the animated series with us. And I think, it's a good time. We're sharing the memes. We're talking about the trailers. Did you finally get to talk to did you finally get to watch the trailer?
That's my life, actually.
Wow.
I wind up watching TV or the internets, and I see the trailer, and I just have a long conversation. It was like a 4-hour conversation. I feel like I did most of the talking, but it was happy to see me.
Yeah. Did you finally watch the trailer for Strange New Worlds?
I saw this trailer, and I'm not gonna lie, that trailer is hot.
It looks great, and honestly, I think has some ties into one of the at least Once Upon a Planet this evening. It looks like we're gonna get some fun, silly outfits of different times and dimensions going on this season, which I'm all for.
I saw the is it the sneak peek or whatever where the 3 turn to Vulcans kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was going, oh, I don't know if I'm loving that. But the trailer was going, oh my God, there's gonna be so much stuff.
Yeah.
So much.
It looks exciting. I'm stoked for this summer where we're gonna get to watch that and chit chat about it. And really excited. Okay, I think it's time for us to dive on in and maybe have a few hot breaks. A couple of hot breaks. What did you think of these 2 episodes, Paul?
I love it when the anime series does callbacks to other episodes. Yeah, and both of these are both so it feels like world connected. Some when they're isolated and they add new things, I feel like it's a hit or miss. But when it's something that's grounded, even if it's crazy, I feel like it's part of Star Trek. So yeah, the qualities too, but it made me feel good.
Yeah, I agree. I like that both of these were playing, I think, on topics and expanding the universe of the original series, so that felt fun. And I don't want to talk about it right at the top, but we'll get into it, about the Mud's passion feeding into the Kirk / Spock fan fiction of it all.
Love it.
But we'll start with Once Upon a Planet. If you did not watch the episode, it's the Enterprise crew goes to an amusement park type planet. It's giving very early Risa vibes, but this time it's run by robots who put things together for you for an experience.
Did you ever see the original episode?
I think I have watched it at some point, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, no, it is. What was I gonna say? It's a B level episode.
Yeah.
Basically people go to planet, weird things start happening, and then McCoy gets killed.
But then brought back to life.
And so shore leave, exactly. And it's fine. It winds up like becoming outdated really quickly when you go to holodecks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like this whole planet, there's all this manufacturing stuff. So like and now it's run by like, ChatGPT. It's not cool.
It's not cool. Mind reading ChatGPT, if you
That's
will.
right. That's right. That's right.
I feel like last week we were talking a lot about how these episodes reminded at least me of those like 80s and early 90s like weird made for TV movies that are like a little too dark for children but were somehow made for children, specifically the Alice in Wonderland movie. And I loved that the first references to Alice in Wonderland upon landing on this planet.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see that. But I like that we finally got yet another, at least slightly more Ahura focused episode where, she's the one trying to essentially outsmart and figure out how to get around the supercomputer, which is another, I think, fun early setup for that trope to continue throughout Trek of like the supercomputer who's like overtaken and gone crazy. Yeah. What if you were to land on the amusement park planet? What would you want to imagine?
Like, I'm a really like I give this, I give this. I don't want to say test all the time, but I ask people like, are you a food, sex, sleep person? Like, you can, and I'm a food person, so I sort of feel like I just be eating a lot.
It would just be like a never ending, like really great Michelin star meal.
Yeah, that's right. Like you're like, it's time for lunch. Oh, it's time for breakfast. It's blah blah blah. Yeah. Like if I like, you could say like, oh, I would be an emperor, or I could be like, I'd have this big house or blah. But like, let's face it. Like, I remember going to Japan one time, my first time actually, to visit a friend, and all I did was play video games in his house at night and sleep during the day. I could have just hung out. I could have done so much stuff in Japan, and I just spent a week just doing the things that I couldn't do at home.
But you went out to eat at amazing places, right?
I did go out to eat at amazing places. Yeah. Yes. And I go like, that was not a trip wasted. Like,
no.
Like, you're like, oh, did I not get to see the castle? No, I walked by the castle. It was fine. Yeah. But like, but so like, I think at a certain age, you kind of let go of the things that you think you want, and you know what you want. And for me, it winds up being the food.
It was the food. That's so funny. I think at this stage of my life, it would be sleep. I'd want just like a pool that with like very chill vibes music and a stack of books where I could just like nap and read all day.
Like, it's one of those things where I didn't realize how many people were in the world were just like sleep people. And so until Instagram, where you see all these, oh, look at this hotel I'm in, and look at this bed. I'm just sitting in this bed reading a book. Oh, here's my bed, and like I have like food in here. I can eat in my like.
I don't eat in bed. That's like I don't like it.
I understand. I don't eat in bed either. There you go.
Anyway, there we go. To Chupi's point here in the chat, canon is created about how the Alice in Wonderland was brought into Discovery as well, because we do, get that line from Spock about how it was one of his mother's favorite books.
And I believe like there was an episode in first season where Burnham is like going through whatever, like, the Jeffrey tubes or something, and just quoting Alice, right?
Yeah, definitely. Folks are paying attention who write these shows, guys. Who would have thought? But yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. What did you think about how the computer sort of related to the idea of, I also thought this episode was an interesting comment almost on like the capitalism of technology and like when things become like having lives of their own. I think interestingly right now too, as we're on the precipice of like all these AI tools and things, of like how do you treat these digital assistants, and like how the computer essentially was like, oh, once someone, like, I have just been a servant to you for this long, so now you must also go, kind of vibes.
Well, interestingly enough, like I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I do go, how much of it is projection? Like, do we project upon our, like, oh, I have a problem with hierarchy, therefore the computer will eventually have problems with hierarchy. As opposed to someone who goes like, oh well, here's this thing, like I was at a friend's house today, and they have a dog, and the thing that the dog wants to do more than anything, as most dogs are, is just to like be next to you. That's it. And so, like, and I think that the dog knows that I am superior.
You
But
provide
like,
the food, yeah.
but I don't think the dog goes like, oh, I resent you for, like, blah 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 blah. So the question is like, why would you suspect that a computer would?
Well, the thing is that computers are programmed and put together and have been created by man, right?
Sure, sure,
And
sure.
so
Or
if
women,
or
or
woman.
people. Oh, like, come on, Myrriah, come on, we do better.
But I'm just saying, right now in tech, there's, we've gotten rid of DEI, Paul. There's no one left. It is literally men. It's white men. That's all that's left is programming things now.
So
But
you're probably going into, like, programmer bias.
yeah, the idea of programmer bias,
Mhm.
and like if you are teaching, computers how humanity works, like what is it then going to spit back out, right?
And this is, yeah, and this is the real problem, right? This is the Ultron problem,
Yeah.
where you go and you look and you're like, oh, there is so much crap about humans that's crappy, that is advertised, and to teach crappiness. And I go like, yeah, I could see how, like, a robot could, or AI, artificial intelligence, who knows nothing except for this infinite capacity to compute, would go, oh well, yeah, you guys do suck. You guys think you suck, and here's a lot of evidence that you guys suck. Yeah, like, yeah. So like, let's get rid of things that suck. Okay, sound good?
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like how I was talking to someone today about how they they don't want to use AI tools to make the art that they make, but they have to do a lot of stuff with research. And so they're like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to weigh and like ebb and flow between like what are the tools that are actually going to make my life easier as far as like categorizing research, putting things together, having things be organized and easy to find, and like using those tools for that sake versus like it making but then you also run the risk of like, oh, if you ask an AI bot, like, give me all of the studies about X, Y, or Z, is it going to have that determinant to understand that there are like non-peer reviewed studies versus peer reviewed studies, and what is
Sure.
it going to calculate based on? So yeah, it's an interesting conundrum we're kind of in at this moment. And to Carmen's point, I also am weirdly polite to all of my like to Series and other things. Like if I'm in the car and I'm like, it's like, do you want to respond to this text message? And I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and during the robot uprising, they'll go like, don't kill that one. She
Don't
said,
kill them.
please.
She said, please and thank you. Not
Yeah,
that one.
not that one.
Um,
That's right.
but I thought Ahura did a good job of essentially like getting it broken down. I also thought it was the way that the planet slash computer kept like swapping what was chasing
Sure.
Kirk and Spock and everybody, the ground crew, was funny to see like the repeat usage of the same gels of those like
Yeah.
crazy dragon birds.
Yeah. Love it. Love
And
it.
then the giant cat.
Well,
um,
it's it, it,
but
it was a romp. Is
it was a
that's
romp.
right?
Yeah, it was a
It's a
fun
romp.
romp.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
I think it's the right word.
It is also interesting, I think, and I wanted to pose to you, is this like one of the first times we've seen where it's essentially like, oh, you think it and it becomes your enemy, a la like Ghostbusters, which comes, about a decade later.
Like,
Where Zool is like, when they're like, I'll make you face your worst
oh, yes, yes, yes,
fear.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And then
Like,
everyone's like, don't think.
I,
I couldn't
I,
help it.
I think like where I first, like, the oldest example of this would be a movie called Forbidden Planet, where like a bunch of people go to a planet and there's this ancient civilization that's completely wiped out, and there's one like brain enhancing device that kills a bunch of people, but one guy doesn't die, and now he's super smart. And it turns out that what the society had done was create something like this computer where it can read your mind and then it can make what you want. But the problem is, like, they there's a dark side to everyone's personality, and in one night, like, like people went to sleep and created monsters and killed the whole society. So I think there's a long tradition about, like, people are monsters.
Yeah. It's an
and
early Leslie Nielsen movie too. He's so young. Look at that little baby face.
Yeah. I forgot that was Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, you're right.
That's interesting that it's given a story by William Shakespeare, and then Alan Adler is the writer. It's supposed to be The Tempest.
Oh, okay. I don't remember The Tempest being that way. Did The Tempest take place on a different planet?
No. It's interesting. Violent Storm. Anyway, now I'm like, I'll have to reread The Tempest. Interesting. Oh, they just redid The Tempest with Helen Mirren as well. Anyway, we love redoing Shakespeare. My favorite Shakespeare adaptation, though, I still think is 10 Things I Hate About You, as well as Clueless. Those are my top two.
I see. I think mine is Gibson's, Hamlet. I haven't seen. I heard. I should have seen Macbeth. I didn't see Macbeth with Fassbender.
Yeah,
that looked amazing, but like I just never gave it the time because it's Shakespeare and like it's always a bit of a work.
Yeah, you gotta have some work. I'm obsessed though. This is such a side tangent. There's these videos on TikTok.
Are you talking about food?
No, about Shakespeare. It's like Shakespeare, but with Appalachian accents.
Oh, I love it.
And it's really compelling. And I was like, oh, like the slowed down dialogue and like kind of and the actors who are doing it are also doing a good job of like acting the scenes. But it was one of those times when I was like, oh, why did they make us read Shakespeare in school? Like we should have just fully been watching it because it's so much easier to understand.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, side tangent. Okay. So Mudd's passion. I feel like every Harry Mudd episode is always again like a fun romp. But what was your kind of like key takeaway? And for those who didn't watch the episode, essentially, they go down to arrest Harry Mudd, who's of course swindling and trying to sell these quote unquote fake love crystals that he has stolen from somebody, of course, and he needs to be under arrest. And he's like, oh, well, I'm on a planet where you can't arrest me. And then they essentially reveal that it's a fake. And then on the ship, the love crystals cause everyone to be really horny for each other.
Like, I feel that as I've gotten older, I go, oh, Mudd's a pimp.
Yeah, he's always trying to get people to hook up.
He's a drug dealer / pimp, So the first time you see him is like when he's basically trying to hook up those girls, i.e. selling those girls to those lithium miners. Second thing is like he has a bunch of robots, which he turns into sex robots, basically.
Yeah, and then this one's about him selling roofies.
I mean, I go like the only Harry Mudd, bit that I found not objectionable is on Discovery.
Yeah.
and
I think they were like, well, let's maybe not have him selling women. Like,
yeah. So like, and so like, I look at that, I go like, oh, maybe women are objectified. I don't know, maybe not.
So crazy, right?
Commodified. That's
modified, right. Objectified, all of the afides.
But I go like, it is a really interesting look into what 70. This is 73, like
Well, what's
kids
also
show. It's a kids show, and you go like, oh, it's sort of bad to drug someone to make him like you, but not so bad that we won't show it to you.
You go. We'll let you believe, kids, that you too can give someone a little something in their drink and get what you want.
It's okay to maybe it's okay if you do it to a boy. Maybe that's what I don't know, but it was.
It was so wild. The other thing that like was so apparent too. So like Nichelle Nichols is the only woman who does voices on the show besides Chapel, and so it like the other communication officer, the
cat girl,
Cotillion, she the weird little purrs were so funny to me.
Oh, no, it's like that's the prototype for Avatar.
And then the other thing that made me laugh was when I think it's like when Bones is talking to that other like woman's person and like
sitting on his lap.
She doesn't say a word. She has no lines. It's just facial reactions. Like
it's so like, and so I do think that like societally, maybe we've outgrown narrative love potioning. Maybe. I mean, it was in Harry Potter for a bit. I can't think of another love potion that, it just seems so.
Yeah, I mean, there's like lots of that subplot, I think, in like I Dream of Jeannie, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like a lot of that kind of stuff.
But like, can you think of anything in the last decade
that has like a love potion aspect to
Yeah.
it? The Craft. I guess it's probably more than a decade at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like there has been, but it's usually always like, oh, here's the detriment of the consequences, you know?
Yeah, like
Oh, what was like that new like Miss Frankenstein?
Oh, okay. Was that I didn't see that movie.
I mean, I don't think she really gave anyone a potion. I think they just kind of she like I think is trying to get one boy to fall in love with her, but then like kind of falls in love with the monster. I'd have to like kind of remember, but you're right. It's not like a very popular thing to play with anymore, but I do think it's still like pops up in a lot of YA material, where it is like you learn that you can't make people love you. You have to just like fall in love.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like
Yes.
I
Oh yeah, Scotty and Emrys, the prototype for Shax and Anna, totally.
Yeah, like it's very interesting. Like I remember watching Mud as a kid, and I was like, oh, this is fun. He's fun. Robots, Of course, I didn't know he was sleeping with the robots until much later in the rewatch. So like, like Chekhov goes like that Russian slur word Harry Mudd taught you. Yes, I'm like, and I watch it now. I'm like going, "Ooh, this is, ooh."
The other thing, so we should dig into this now, but the way Kirk is jealous of Chapel in this episode it was like the moment where I finally kind of perked up in the episode because I was like, I was watching it, but I was like, yeah, Harry Mudd, classic Harry Mudd,
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh, this to me feels like, so I went down the deep history of like Kirk and Spock / like the KS fandom of it all.
Sure.
And like obviously it started immediately from the jump of the show, because apparently from what I read is that Spock got such a huge flux of fans, and so Roddenberry was like, we need people to know that Kirk is the lead, and like we want them to like Kirk more. And so essentially the advice was given like, oh, make sure that if you pair them together and really inform their friendship a lot throughout the episodes, it's going to by proxy make people be more into Kirk as well. Which worked, but it also created this interesting like on-screen we'll say red sexual tension between the two characters.
It's like, what you call it? It's like Xena, right?
Oh yeah, Xena Warrior Princess, absolutely. But those characters do, I think, eventually kiss.
Do they?
I think I it could just be my fake memory of that.
Yeah,
I think Xena and Gabrielle kiss. It might have been in like a dream sequence. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. No.
Yeah, they share a kiss in the quest.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. By the 6th season, it's a very romantic vibe relationship. So, thank you, 90s television. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So like the fan fiction history really starts in like the late 60s and into the 70s. And this feels like a little bit of a wink and a nod to the fans, I feel like, to be like, hey, we see what y'all are doing, in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
because it's happening at cons. There's like there's like people essentially like writing these stories, and because it's before photocopiers exist, people are having to make actual like typed copies of things or carbon copies of things, and you could like mail in an envelope to get them, and like the zines would circulate and stuff. And I'm like, wow, dedication.
Yeah, like it's hard for me to believe that in the late 60s and the early 70s that Spock was the more popular character amongst people. Now, I believe those who like Spock would have like Spock is like a 5-ticket ride, where like whereas Kirk might be a 1-ticket ride, and so like I think the people who are hot for Spock would be super hot for Spock, and people who like Kirk would just be like, oh yeah, he's the hero, and just be, but I don't know. I can imagine Spock having more fan mail, but I don't know if fan mail equals like people thinking that that he's number one on the call sheet.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It was like the letters. There's like a letter between.
Chupi says I am wrong. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, Shatner was not happy about it. That's what, because yeah, essentially it was like Gene Roddenberry was writing with a science fiction author, Isaac Asimov, and being like,
I heard that name.
Yeah, and Isaac was like, "Hey, I'm a really big fan of the show, and I'm really liking Spock." And essentially, that like put him down. Was like, "Hey, how can I get everyone to confirm like Kirk is the central character?" And Asimov was like, "Kirk and Spock need to be portrayed as very close friends and confidants, saving each other's lives, and really function as a 2-part team." Was the advice that he was given. And yeah, obviously we can see that portrayed in this. It says, and that was meant to be devoted friendship may have picked up by fans as leading to sexual intimacy, is essentially like the road followed.
Do you think Roddenberry saw himself as Kirk?
Probably. You always try to write. Do you think writers write themselves as the heroes of the stories?
I get some do, like, I don't, because I suck.
This is wait, this is funny from Q. The TMP novelization, Roddenberry has Kirk say it would be stupid for him to be in a relationship with a person who only goes into heat every 7 years.
That is also very funny.
And then Roddenberry definitely saw himself as Kirk. It seems to be the vibes.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's like natural to write like your main character to have some similarities to either yourself or dysfunction similar to yourself, depending on the genre, right?
I mean, you write what you know, but like, how many people really know themselves?
Yeah, it's very few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, hot
dog talk. But also the wildest thing to me in this episode, beyond the like weird
roofie,
the weird roofie crystals, was those like giant rock creatures, which I'm like, have we ever seen anything like this again? They reminded me so much of like Godzilla. Like,
oh yes,
well, at first I was like, oh, it's a dune sandworm, because he like stepped and then it was like activated, and then I was like, oh, and now it just looks like all the old like OG Godzilla like animations.
Well, I thought it was crazy that the solution was like, let's throw these like Tic Tacs into this super monster,
Also, like, they're so small. Like, those are the amount of drugs that work on human beings.
Yeah.
Like, why would that tiny amount work on
Yeah.
something so massive?
And don't forget, alien.
Yeah, not the same creature, bodily functions. And then it also didn't seem like they were like very into each other. They were just like yelling at each other.
Yeah, it was like kids show, but at the same time, like I really want to know how, like, what happened in this room. When they were pitching ideas. I like
Yeah.
what, like, this was still the early 70s. Like, what was LSD still so rampant in the water or something? I don't know. It's sort of crazy.
I mean, probably. The guy who wrote this episode, by the way, has a deep resume. It is like hit for hits,
Like what?
Prior to, I was trying to see what was like right around Star Trek. So wrote for The Magician, Marcus Welby, Moving On, Harry O, Barnaby Jones, The $6 Million Man, The Bionic Woman, Wonder Woman, Man from Atlantis, Charlie's Angels, The Amazing Spider-Man, Dukes of Hazzard, Chips, Love Boat.
Well, just goes to show you can just fail up.
And then he was like an EP on the MacGyver.
Well, I mean, like this, it's one of those things where like, could you just make a show like I keep on forgetting how.
He also wrote for Batman, like the animated Batman from the 60s. Or was it? I guess it wasn't. No,
it was live action.
Animated?
It was live action.
Yeah, it's a live action Batman.
Like,
bam, pow.
Like it just reminds me of what a small town was and how, you just pick people you knew.
Yeah.
Like not I watch all these shows, so obviously
right.
This guy has talent. What's his name? What's the guy's name?
Oh, the writer Stephen Candle.
Yeah, it's just but like the idea, like my neighbor used to write He-Man, the cartoon He-Man.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and like the stories that he used to tell, but like it was one of those things where you're like, huh, the metric was not very high. Because if you were watching He-Man, it does not hold up.
Oh my gosh, this is so wild. So this writer, in his retirement at age 93, he authored a book called The Lion King, A Tyrannical Tale of Tawdry Trumpery, and it was a semi-satirical critique of Donald Trump's numerous shortcomings. So he was like, even to the end, he's like, oh, I shall use the pen like as my form of protest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's wild, like how our tastes have definitely evolved and changed too. I think as like a culture, because like the other night I was at a friend's house and we put on. Do you remember Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous?
I do. I don't think it's The Rich and the Famous, or like Rich and Famous, right? Lifestyles of Rich and Famous, of the Rich and Famous. Is there
something
another line there?
I don't remember. Yeah,
Robin Leach.
Robin Leach. It's insane. the pacing and the weird cheesy writing of the show, and like how popular it was. And I was like, oh, it speaks to such a like interesting evolvement of like, oh, people really thought like, oh, I'm gonna watch how these quote unquote like successful business people and like celebrities get to these like crazy high places in the world. It's also like so cursed because half of them are like, and next at the party is Harvey Weinstein. It's like, it's so bad. Or like OJ Simpson. It's like, you're just like, oh no. But this idea of like, it all made it seem attainable. Do you know what I mean?
Is that what you think? Like because I feel like
I think it was aspirational, but like people, I think it started this path, I think, similar to where we are kind of now, of like people don't realize they're so much closer to being like unhoused than they are to ever being a millionaire. And it's this idea of like aspiration, like proximity via aspiration to wealth.
Yeah. I get you. Like, like, I don't know. I remember back in those days, like you see like, here, this person does this, and you go like, oh, here is this here's this person who did well, and now they have a yacht in the Bahamas,
Mm-hmm.
and now like social media is pumping you all the time with like, oh, all you have to do is X, Y, or Z,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be driving a Ferrari, like, at the
Right.
age of 12. And, you know, and I feel that there's always been this sense of, uh, I could do better. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
something has changed. It might have started in the 80s. I don't know. I'm
I
old.
usually blame everything on Reagan.
Okay, but the idea of like, oh, I'm entitled to that, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like I can work and achieve it. I think like I at one time I wanted a yacht, but soon after you've been on a yacht, you go, you know what, you're like, this
I just
sucks.
kind of want to pay my bills.
I just I just want to eat, like you yeah, it's just like it's all just status, right?
Yeah.
So and so one day, if I can just figure out the formula, the Harry Mud formula, I too
Yeah.
can have all that status.
You can have all that status. You
That,
too can sell love
like
crystals. Yeah.
like 2000 year 20, what year are they in? 22 somethings, 22 something roofies,
Mm-hmm.
super roofies.
Super so no. That you can also somehow like, it's funny to me, like the rules of the crystals kept changing of how they were absorbed. It was like, oh, you touch them and then you have to touch the person you want. And then Harry was like, oh, just kidding. I'm gonna just like put this through the vent system so everyone's affected.
Like,
Like,
I don't think Harry knew. I don't think, like that's what you get for
yeah.
like going to an alien planet, grabbing some like love medicine, and just like
Yeah.
uh,
Being like,
it,
let's
it,
just throw this to the wind.
it's so it's so in some ways embarrassing now
Yeah.
looking at it.
I do appreciate that Harry Mudd at least is not a villain who's willing to sacrifice his life for something dumb, because I feel like that's often the case with like villainous characters where
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh no, this is now worth like so much money. You can't do this thing even though it would be the thing that would save my life,"
Yeah,
Whereas
sure,
he
sure.
was like, "Oh, actually, you're right. Yeah, I want to at least get out of here." Like he knows the value
He-
of like
of his
I
hide.
yeah, of his hide, which I think is like makes
No,
him a smarter villain in my mind and a fun villain.
wait, villain? Villain?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he's aspirational. You know,
Is he?
this some people
He's
call me the space pimp.
he's what was I gonna say? I've lost it. It's fine. Um, yeah, he's kind of that like, I don't know, the silly, goofy, very
Yeah, yeah.
like the Jesse Pinkman of
Yeah,
space,
sure,
you
sure. The
know?
Jesse. Oh, that's perfect. That's one. No notes. No notes. That's exactly. That's space Jesse Pinkman.
Space Jesse Pinkman. Just
Like,
along for the ride.
I will say that one of the things that they did perfectly in the animation was his mustache.
Oh, the mustache is so
Uh,
good.
I was like, oh, this is like, you look at that character and you know that character, and you know that character
Yeah.
doesn't bathe regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just everything's a little greasy. Like
Like, how do you make someone look greasy like on television? And I go like, that mustache. That was
that
the answer.
mustache. That's how you do it. I couldn't believe that Chapel was so willing to just like go along
Yeah,
with the plan.
yeah, no, no, like Chapel's a little rapey. Good to know.
I was like, oh no, what is happening?
Yeah, I
Y'all
mean,
have unresolved tension that we're going to see a lot of in this next
he,
few episodes of Strange New Worlds this summer.
like
But
he's the ex,
yeah,
Uh,
the one that got away.
but once again, like it's of the time, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
that you watch it of that time, and you go like, oh yeah, that's nothing wrong with that, and that's it's just so interesting. Like like I remember watching Saturday Night Fever.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and then like I didn't watch it till like as an adult, and like there's like a casual rape scene in there,
There's
A-
a
a-
lot in that era.
a-
Yeah,
and then you're like going, oh, that's 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 rough.
hmm
And then John Travolta's like, and now you got what you wanted. and I was
you're like, oh
I was
no,
like, and like like, and you can be angry about it, and you can be like disgusted, but like it was what it was at the time, like
right?
and so like morals shift and stuff like that. So like just watching this, it's like, oh, like I don't think I'm so like, so super progressive or whatever, but I go like, oh, like the needle has changed, in society, which is what it should do. Like, you know, or we can go back. I know you're a big roofie person, so
Major.
that's a joke, everyone. For those who don't,
There's some interesting fodder here of like, how gross would it have been if Scotty had used the love potion on Ahura? I do think it was interesting, like the idea of the gender swap, right? But Spock being all like my Christine and literally thirsty over her, pretty racy for Saturday morning.
I do, yeah, I do think like the way that they made it okay in their minds was like, oh, here is this woman doing it to a guy. I don't know if Sky were to do that to Ahura, like I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Even in the 70s.
Even in the 70s, yeah, I think it would have been like,
or 70s Saturday morning.
Especially Saturday morning. Like maybe if it was Star Trek, the regular show, there would have been a moral like hand wringing about it, about how that's ultimately used. Yeah, very interesting. Anything else to say about these two episodes, Paul?
No, I mean, like, I think you should, if you're interested in them and you haven't seen them, you should watch them through the lens of anthropology.
Yeah.
Historical and anthropological, because it like I don't mean to be all meditative, but like, I was like, oh, this is really a change in society.
Yeah, I've been kind of viewing our whole rewatch this way of like, I keep looking, I'm like, oh, what else have these folks written about? Like, who are these like early writers on this show? Like, what's kind of going on in this time frame? How does this set up the rest of like Star Trek moving forward? I think especially Mudd's passion, I think sets up the ball to go into, I don't know, a sports metaphor inserted here about the K/S like fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I think these two were more entertaining than some of the other episodes we've watched.
Sure.
So
I mean, like,
did
I will say
enjoy them.
these two, like as I was watching, I was going, what? What is happening?
Yeah.
And that's worthwhile. That's worthwhile, in 20-minute doses.
Yeah, and these two both also have some fun background art and things like that too. So there's some fun things happening in here. And there's a few jokes. I'd say in Mudd's passion especially, there's some jokes happening.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we will be back next week.
Will Clyde be back from his away mission?
That is a great question. I am not sure. I'd have to double check our calendar, but hopefully we'll hear more about Clyde's away mission when he gets back. He is on an epic trip around the other side of the world. So we'll hear all about it when he gets back.
Kazakhstan?
Close. You're on the right continent. But until next time, y'all, we'll see you soon. Appreciate you. You can again find us over at StarTrekPod.com. Also, thank you, Karen, for helping to run the Blue Sky account, where you can also find us over there. And until next time, y'all, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye. Don't take any love crystals.
No.
Watch your